Rebel. Reject. Create.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to Rebel, Reject, Create podcast. And today, my special guest is Mr. Josuel Rogers, who is a life and executive coach, speaker, and podcast host, as well as a mad hip-hop lover and erstwhile performer. Welcome, Josuel.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. So, Josuel, you're also a many-faceted human being. You do lots and lots of different things.
Yep.
What does that look like? I mean, how do you go from waking up one morning and then suddenly having a new thing that you've made? Like, how do you get from the idea to a new thing?
Oh, that's a nice one. So let's start with how do I get the idea?
Yeah.
I get ideas from everything around me. So everything that happens in the world. So, for example, I write articles for the Maverick Paradox, where I look at, for example, mindset from a totally different angle than would usually be. So, for example, I have an article, Hair and Mindset, and that just popped up while I was combing out my hair. And I was like, oh, this is a lot of work. Oh, this takes dedication. And I was like, wait a minute. Oh, but then hair does say a lot about person. You have personality, you do that with hair, but also there are some people be like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna shave it off. It's easy, simple. Don't have to think on anything else. Someone else is gonna be the one like that's. Oh yeah, well today I have to do. I have to wash it. I have to condition it. Then I'm gonna put it in a deep warm conditioner, oil bath. Da, 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 da. And basically, so just walking around, I get ideas. Just
Right.
and consuming. It's I think creating is also comes forth out of consuming. Yeah, you have to somewhere you got an idea, and sometimes your idea is super original, and sometimes your idea is combination from existing things that you're like, hey, wait a minute, I see this, and I think it can be tweaked here,
Mhm.
and I think I can do it in this way. And
Yeah, but that's the important step, isn't it? Going from the seeing the thing to going, oh, I'm going to do this with it.
yeah, yeah, and that is it's also leaving your imagination run wild. And a lot of people, creativity is also resting.
Mm.
I mean, that I can almost guarantee that 95% of the people listening and those of you who are watching were under the shower once, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because you're in relaxation mode. It gives your brain time to connect the different dots that have assembled over the years.
hmm hmm All right. And then you've got the idea. And how do you get from saying, oh, well, that's interesting to, hey, here's a new article, or hey, here's a new training program, or an idea for a program? What happens?
So what happens is I have the idea, and then it's like, hmm, shall I try it out? And from there I go look at, okay, what all is possible? Has it been done before? Are there anywhere things that you could that maybe someone else thought of it? I mean, no idea is original. Famous Nas song. No idea is original, and you can find a lot, but then also doing it is where the the courage comes in.
Hmm.
So a lot of times we don't do stuff because of what someone might say, or you're already busy with, hey, is it gonna fail? Is it gonna work? And actually, you figure it out by doing it. So you just start, you do it, and from there, you're gonna see if it works out or it doesn't work out, but you gave it a shot, and there are no failures. There's only lessons. You've learned something that will probably you'll use in another idea,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah. I
it's,
mean,
it's also finding the purpose. It could be that you're busy with for me, if I'm busy with a training, I could be talking to someone. I'm like, okay, I have to develop maybe a totally new training. And while I have the purpose of developing a new training, then also the dots start to connect. Like, okay, wait a minute, I can do it from this angle. I can do it from this angle. Oh, I picked this up. Okay, this could be interesting to use.
Yeah. I mean, what you were just talking about there is a very specific mindset, isn't it? It's a way of looking at the world, saying this is actually possible. And what's more, if I start doing something, stuff can actually happen or not,
Yeah,
but I'm going to do it anyway.
yeah. The world is actually one big playground. I mean, if you're let's say if you look at children, everything is a playground to them. I mean, you can give them a box, and a box becomes a castle, and
Yeah.
it's because everything is still a playground. And
Right.
later, when we get on in life and we mature and we become grown adults, everyone is expected to be a certain way,
Yeah.
and then you kind of lose oh that imaginative idea,
Right.
that imagination.
Yeah. So obviously, you use hip hop as a metaphor, as a vehicle for a lot of your work with helping
Yeah.
people, you know, develop themselves and realize their potential. What for you are the most obvious and powerful things that hip hop has got to teach people in this world?
The most obvious and powerful things are community. So it's really built around a community. And so, like I said, I help people, I help teams, groups of youth, and then it's also about community collaboration, and also the a mindset of going out to get something done. That entrepreneurial mindset where
Mm,
now it's like a buzzword, the entrepreneurial mindset, but
yeah,
just starting from somewhere and creating something. I
yeah,
mean, the the first person didn't think, oh, okay, I'm gonna do a little scratch here, and it's gonna a scratch on a. Let me be real specific. I'm gonna take this record. I'm gonna do a little scratch, or I'm gonna each time pull it back to this specific section of the record, and that it would become something as huge as it is now. But
no,
it's just attempting, just playing with it, just
yeah,
using the tools that you have to work on another future that you desire.
yeah. What I love about hip hop is that DIY aspect of
Yeah.
it. It's like, hey, I got a turntable, I got a record, and I'm just gonna make a beat because I can't play drums, I don't have a drum kit, I've got no access to the equipment. Hey, there's a beat. I'm gonna just,
Yeah, exactly.
you
It,
know, amazing. No, until I mean, who did that for the very first time? It's just like what an incredible reimagining of the equipment at hand.
yeah. And it is in so much different things. So like I said, for me, I also like busy with from consuming, I also get great ideas.
Hmm.
If you look at maybe even now still, but also early hip hop, it's built on samples of music that someone heard. They were listening to it. It could be their
Yeah,
mom was playing it, and they heard this one little piece,
yeah,
and and it goes from there. I mean, I've seen look back at samples, and they're like, "Wow, you actually just made something out of this little 2 seconds." And they're like, "Ta-na-na, ta-na-na, ta-na-na." Like it's
yeah,
like that's like it's minuscule amount of and back in the days, records were like 6 minutes long,
yep,
4 minutes. It's not the TikTok, Spotify age where we go, okay, let's do 2 minutes and it's good to go. No, they would they
yeah.
would have a whole song of 10 minutes on the LP. Just look to find that one little thing that's gonna create a brand new remixed something that's also sounds awesome.
Cool. Thanks, Josuel. Hey, if you're listening to this interview and you're enjoying what Josuel has to say, particularly about the value of hip hop to our current situation or anything else, don't forget to hit the like, the follow, and the subscribe buttons. There's plenty more episodes where this came from already from the first season, and plenty more to come after this. So, yeah, I mentioned that whole DIY thing. it always amuses me to some extent to think that punk rock and hip hop emerged out of New York at exactly the same
At the same
time.
time.
Um, Pretty much expressions of the same situation seen through different lenses. You know, how many things can you make from the same situation? With the same basic equipment,
Wow. It's like cooking. How many things can you make with chicken?
right? Yeah,
And that's that's why I I like just creating stuff. So if you give me a job where I can sit down somewhere and I'm just spouting ideas for someone to go ahead with, yeah, I could do that the whole day. And it's just I have to rein in my creativity a lot of times.
yeah, yeah.
But what it is with so I work a lot with people and everyone has their own. There's no two people that are exactly alike.
Right.
And because there are no two people that are exactly alike, you're sitting in a room with them, working with people, they're always gonna come up with something new. Somehow, some way, someone is gonna be the little catalyst that is like, oh, we didn't think on that. And it could be
Right.
because they had a specific hobby that someone else didn't have. For example, maybe someone has a hobby cutting bonsai trees, where the rest don't have anything with, has no idea what it is. And from that bonsai tree habit, he just got an insight.
Right. Diversity of thought is critical.
Yeah, yep. And
Yeah.
diversity of thought is critical, but also an environment where everyone is comfortable with expressing their diverse thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Um, what I like about what you're just saying there is that it matches quite nicely with something I always say to people, which is nothing you have ever learned or done is wasted.
Fully agree.
Because it's part of that unique perspective that you build up. It means because you did that and it didn't work, that you now know something or have experienced something that will be of use to you later.
And you, for people who came up with it, but I think I think I learned it while listening to Jim Quick. But when you, for example, when you're speed reading, you're not really reading all the words.
No,
And why you don't need to read all the words is because your brain, well, we say it's a supercomputer, but it's even more than that. And what it does, it stores stuff without you even realizing. I mean, just looking at the screen, your eyes already, your brain already filters whatever
mm,
little the 10,000 pulses that light has, it filters it, but it still takes it in. And because your brain takes everything in, it just stores it. It could be a specific scent can trigger a whole memory that you
yeah,
can't remember that you had, for
yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah.
And that's the power of it all.
Right, right. So what do you say to someone who comes to you and says like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm not a creative person. I can't solve problems in interesting ways. I've got such limited tools. If I had more stuff, maybe I could, but I can't. What do you say?
I usually begin with the most simplest of things. Hey, what did you choose your clothes today? And a lot of people don't realize that choosing your clothes is also a form of creativity and expression.
That's a brilliant example.
You take them back. They're like, oh yeah, okay. You kind of have a point there where it's something super simple, and then from there, they open up a little bit more, and a brain dump is always a wonderful tool. Just write on anything that comes up. I
Mhm.
tell I had a while. I stopped because my brain would come up with ideas the whole day. It already does that, but I specifically wrote down 10 ideas every day and no judgment on ideas.
Right.
No
Now,
judgment. Just
now
10 ideas.
explain that because that's a really important one. What do you mean? No judgment.
So as soon as the ideas comes, I write it down. And it could be the most ridiculous idea ever. Now I'm calling it the most ridiculous idea ever, but let's say if we look at the technology that we have now and we would tell someone in, let's not go back way too far, the 1800s, even 1900s, we would tell someone 1900, hey, in 2023, I have an idea. I'm gonna create something that in 2023 we can talk to people all over the world and with video, with seeing them.
Yeah.
They're gonna say that's a ridiculous idea.
I think if you told me that in 1984, I would have been surprised.
And I'd be like, I don't know, sir. Are you watching a lot of Star Trek?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and it's just writing them down and just leaving them alone. Sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't, and you never know. You never know. And it's
Yeah.
the important thing is also reason why I said, okay, write down 10 ideas a day is, and don't judge them. It's also to train your brain to see more possibilities, to allow it to roam free, your creativity to roam free, be like, oh, this is an idea. And you can just write it down
What?
and leave it. It's also a mindset thing. Write it down, leave it, and it could be you come back to it. So what I did then is I wrote down 10 ideas every day.
Yeah.
And I had some days you're gonna be a little bit slower than the rest. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, but what I also can do is I take, for example, one of those ideas that might seem way out there, and I'm gonna see if I can do 10 ideas around that idea.
Right.
So just to keep the motor going.
Yeah. I was just reacting there to what you said about like practicing letting your brain free so that you can do this. Just like so
Yeah.
the point of this exercise is almost not actually whether any of the ideas are any good at all. It's just
Nope.
about practice coming up with ideas because if you get better at it, then the chances of you coming up with good ones at some stage are higher.
So the chances of coming up with ideas are higher, good ones are higher, but also so if you can come up with ideas without focus. Imagine you have a team meeting and they're like, okay, we have to kind of work on this. And you can say, okay, I'm just going to start writing down ideas without, if you've already practiced yourself to write down ideas without judgment, you're just going to write down your ideas. Doesn't matter what
Right.
they are.
Okay. So this is like
And
keeping the knife sharp.
yeah, you're keeping the knife sharp.
Right. Right. Cool.
And
I often,
added bonuses,
yeah,
sometimes while keeping the knife sharp, hey, I can actually chop a tree right here.
yeah,
This is a little tree I can chop down. It's gonna be handy firewood for later on.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how when we talk about sport, we totally accept the idea that you've got to go to the gym, you've got to spend time on the training ground, you've got to do skills focused practice, visualization, repetition, all of this kind of stuff. And then the moment we start talking about all anything that's not like physical activity related, suddenly it's talking about genius, natural talent, special skills. I can't possibly do that. And it's like, well, why? What's the
Yeah,
difference?
and and the thing is also, so for example, with, let's say, sports, you see sports everywhere, and you continuously hear the stories about sports. And when it comes to creativity, maybe in a business sense or in other ways, you don't hear the stories that much.
Hmm.
And the stories that you do hear are the Elon Musks,
Yeah. The
Steve
myths, the
Jobs, the
legends.
legends, the
Yeah.
legends for sports. Of course, you see the legends, but you on your screen, oh, wait a minute, that guy running with him, he's not a legend, but he also has to practice.
Yeah.
And when it comes to stuff of the mind, it it sometimes also looks like it's a one man's journey. While it's not a one man's journey.
Hmm.
It's even if you're doing it by yourself, you picked up somewhere something from someone gave you an aha moment
Yeah.
in the moment, or you look back at a conversation like, you spoke to someone who does something totally different,
Yeah.
which triggered creative ideas.
Right.
I
Cool.
mean, if I usually grab the McDonald's fast food lane,
Yeah.
not the fast food lane, the way you go pick up the drive-through lane. Yeah, who would have thought that that was based on the F1's pit stop formula? Yeah,
Right.
no way. Then you're in mind, okay, who came up with that? But somebody there that it probably was a Formula
Right.
One fan who was like, hey, wait a minute. Oh, that goes quick. What? And it's just a, what if
What
we did
if?
this? What if we did this with
Yeah.
food at work? Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Josuel, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for coming along on the show. I've got one last
Great.
question
Thank
for
you for
you.
having me.
Oh, pleasure. You got to ask one more question though. If someone says to you, I need to be more creative, and you're only allowed to tell them one thing, what one thing would you say they should do to be more creative?
Oh, what is the one thing they could do to be more? I already get. I'm gonna say the 10 ideas.
Right.
10
Every
ideas.
day.
Write down 10 ideas every day. Write down 10 ideas every day. that's
Right.
that's the one thing I'm gonna give them. Okay, I'm gonna do this because otherwise I'm gonna be given a lot more than one.
Okay, cool. Josuel, thank you again for speaking to us. Hey, if you've enjoyed this conversation, check out the show notes where you can read more about Josuel and check out all his links where you can find him on his websites and social media. And he's just launched a new product, which is an assessment for a one-time coaching package. So you can get insights into your motivators and or your communication preferences. The link for that test is also in the show notes. So do check that out. Josuel, sir, always a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
All right, ciao.